right on it. Excuse me, Minister. So I would like to begin by welcoming everybody. We're at the 98th meeting of Status of Women, and today, of course, we have the Honourable Bill Morneau with us, the Minister of Finance. He's joined by Michelle Kovacek, an Assistant Deputy Minister, Federal Provincial Relations and Social Policy Branch, Alison McDermott. Associate Deputy Minister, Economic Fiscal Policy. I get right on it there. You'll find this. Yes. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Morneau as he gets back to his chair.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe the meeting started 3 minutes ago, and I appreciate the Minister is swanning around the room, but I think some of us would like to get down to business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to request an additional 5 minutes. Good afternoon, Minister. Since we are starting 5 minutes late, I am asking your presence to remain 5 minutes after the hour at 5:05 so that we can put in that 1 hour as requested. So, Minister Morneau, I'm going to pass the floor over to you for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that today marks a significant milestone. It's the first time that a finance minister has appeared before the Standing Committee on the Status of Women. And obviously, we think that's a long overdue activity because we recognize how important it is, the work that's done at this committee. We know that it makes a real difference in the lives of Canada's women and girls. And so I'd like to start by thanking all of the committee members for inviting me to be here to talk about our budget, to answer any questions that you might have. As I said when I introduced our budget in the House back at the end of February, our economy is doing quite well. Over the last 2 years, hardworking Canadians have created more than 600,000 new jobs, most of them full-time. Unemployment rates are among the lowest we've seen in more than 40 years. And if you compare Canada to its economic peers and other G7 nations, we're leading the pack when it comes to economic growth since 2016. So we find ourselves in an interesting position. Our strong economic fundamentals give us the opportunity to invest in the things that will keep our economy strong and growing. At the same time, we have an obligation to take a serious look at some of the deeper challenges that continue to hold back our people and our economy. And that's where this year's budget comes in. Malheureusement, des obstacles continuent d'empêcher.
Unfortunately, a number of barriers continue to prevent a number of women and girls from realizing their full potential in Canada as in elsewhere in the world. All government is determined to overcome these barriers. Budget 2018 supports women and girls, reduces the wage gap between men and women, and increases the participation of women on the labour market.
In Canada is the highest among G7 countries, but it's still almost 10 percentage points below the rate for Canadian men, even though Canadian women are among the best educated in the world. The gender wage cap is also an issue in Canada, as it is in many other places. In 2017, for every dollar a male worker in Canada earned, a female worker earned 80 cents per hour worked. And because women tend to work fewer hours, the gap in annual earnings is even larger, with female workers earning only 69 cents for every dollar earned by a male worker. Canadian women are also underrepresented in positions of leadership and in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We also know that the demands of unpaid work, caring for children or for ill or elderly family members, disproportionately fall to women, making it difficult for them to pursue opportunities, including work. So these are some of the important challenges we face. And though we know we can't solve every problem, after all, these challenges are the result of long-standing and systemic discrimination. Budget 2018 does take some important steps toward providing greater equality for Canada's women and girls. From a structural perspective, it starts with the introduction of a new gender results framework. This whole-of-government tool helps define what needs to be done to achieve gender equality and tracks our progress against stated goals. As you know, Budget 2018 also marks the first time that no budget decision was taken without being informed by Gender-Based Analysis Plus, or GBA Plus. And to ensure that gender remains a key consideration for future governments, we'll also introduce new GBA Plus legislation to make gender budgeting a permanent part of the federal budget-making process. In terms of specific measures in Budget 2018, I'd like to highlight just a few for you today. Avec le budget de 2018,
with Budget 2018, the government wants to legislate the principle of equal pay for equal work in the federally regulated sectors. This will mean that, on average, men and women working in federally regulated industries will receive the same pay for equal work. This principle will apply to some 1.2 million wage earners.
Caregiving duties in general disproportionately fall to women. And so, in Budget 2018, we introduced a new Use It or Lose It employment insurance parental sharing benefit to encourage both parents and two-parent families to share equally in the work of raising their children. With this new benefit, two-parent families who agree to share parental leave could receive an additional 5 weeks of leave, or an additional 8 weeks for parents who choose the extended parental benefits option. This will make it easier for women to return to work sooner if they so choose. And it will also help to address some of the patterns of discrimination that many women experience in the hiring process. At the same time, it will give both parents an opportunity to spend time with young children, setting up patterns of more equal parenting that can last a lifetime. To help Canada's women-led businesses grow, find new customers, and hire more Canadians, Budget 2018 proposes to invest $1.65 billion in a new women entrepreneurship strategy. It also supports the advancement of women in their careers by publicly recognizing corporations that are committed to promoting women to senior management positions. And to make sure we're able to do this important work, Budget 2018 also proposes to make additional investments in status of women, and finally, to make status of women a full department in the Government of Canada. Le budget élargit la stratégie du Canada pour prévenir.
Our budget broadens Canada's strategy to prevent and counter gender-based violence, increase support for crisis centres for victims of sexual assault on university and college campuses, and takes measures to engage men and boys in promoting gender equality. Madam Speaker, the government is also acting to promote gender equality worldwide. Budget 2018 will allow us to ensure that Canada welcomes more women and girls who are refugees, who are not only fleeing war and persecution, but who are also facing increased risk because of their sex. We want to ensure that all Canadians have a fair chance and opportunity to succeed. That is not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do.
Force boost productivity and profitability for Canadian businesses. And of course, the experts back us up on this. RBC Economics estimates that if Canada had a completely equal representation of women and men in our workforce, we could have increased the size of the economy by 4% last year. Similarly, McKinsey Global Institute estimates that by taking steps to advance greater equality for women, such as employing more women in technology and in boosting women's participation in the workforce, Canada could add $150 billion to its economy by 2026. That's the kind of long-term growth that would benefit not just women and girls, but all Canadians. It would mean more good, well-paying jobs, more money for all those Canadians who are working hard to pay their bills. Madam Chair, as Minister of Finance, I sit around a diverse cabinet table with as many women as men, and I can tell you that the diversity of voices and perspectives around that table makes for better government, better decisions, and better outcomes. Likewise, gender equality in our economy and our society will lead to greater prosperity. It'll benefit all Canadians, and Budget 2018 represents an important step toward that goal. So I'd be happy to take your questions now.
Excellent, and thank you very much. So just to let you know how we usually do this, it's 7-minute rounds, so 7, 7, 7, 7, and then to 5s. So we're going to start with our first 7 minutes with Sean Fraser.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Minister, for being with us today. I've got 2 questions, and I'll ask you to try to be concise because I hope to share some time with one of my colleagues. The first question involves some of the changes to parental leave provisions. I myself am a new parent who welcomed a daughter into the world not too long after the 2015 election. But the problem is so much broader than my own family's experience. There's so many families who, because of the way that our society has developed over the course of the past 150 years, have put predominantly the responsibilities of child rearing on typically the mother in a two-parent household. Of course, when you take time out of the workforce, this can put at risk your ability to climb the ladder in whatever your profession may be, and at the same time shift the burden disproportionately towards women. One of the changes you raised in your opening remarks was the use it or lose it 5-week benefit. I'm curious how you think this change will inspire men to take on a greater share of the child rearing responsibilities, and how it will allow women to rejoin the workforce more quickly so they can get back onto their career path and participate at the same level that men are able to.
Well, maybe I can start by just acknowledging the context of your question. Our goal, of course, is to find a way to ensure greater opportunities for women, and to ensure that for people that want to be in the workforce, that there aren't obstacles that are presented merely on the basis of their sex. So we looked at policy measures that we could use in order to improve the situation. Right now, we have about a 62% workforce participation among women and about a 70% workforce participation among men. It's improved for women, but there's still a way for us to go. We looked at the fact that Quebec introduced a parental leave use it or lose it benefit, this 5-week benefit that we've put in place. And we saw that there was a much more significant uptake among the second partner, as you say, typically men, in taking parental leave, more than 80%, whereas in the rest of the country, it's about 12%. So our goal is to create a policy that enables women to get back to work if they choose, by allowing their spouse, if he or their partner wants to be back in the workforce, chooses to take that parental leave, sharing the burden more fairly. We also want to know that when two people go into a hiring office, a male and a female, that the person hiring them looks at them more equally, realizes that both of them are relatively likely to take time off for child rearing, and thus, when they're thinking about who to hire, recognizes the equal potential and isn't biased against one of those people versus the other. So we think it can have long-term positive benefits in multiple ways.
Thank you. A second question, very quickly. This committee is finalizing a study on women's participation in the Canadian economy. One of the issues that we heard about frequently was the barrier for women entrepreneurs in seeking capital. They're unable to finance their businesses the same way men are. What's the government's plan to tackle this problem to ensure that we're not missing out on the economic opportunities represented by women's entrepreneurship?
We think this challenge has multiple facets to it. Obviously, there's historic issues, there's access to networks, and there's actually access to capital. We put in place some funding for our regional development agencies so that they can work regionally on enabling women entrepreneurs to be more successful through accelerators, hubs where they can develop mentorship for women entrepreneurs. And then we put in place access to specific funding through the Business Development Bank of Canada and through Export Development Corporation for women entrepreneurs. It adds up to about $1.65 billion in new capital available for women entrepreneurs specifically, trying to address the fact that the capital access for women has been significantly less than for male entrepreneurs, and recognizing that for that success to be possible, there needs to be earmarked funds to do that. And finally, some of that will be specifically around women entrepreneurs getting access to funding for international export opportunities, where we see big opportunities and required assistance.
Excellent. I have got about 2.5 minutes remaining. If my colleague Mark Sarah would like to pick up where I've left off, that would be great.
Merci, Monsieur Fraser. Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser. Thank you, Minister, for your first appearance here at the Status of Women Committee and for your commitment and dedication to women and girls in our economy. And also, thank you for the additional funding that has been funneled into the regional economic agencies.
2017 budget, you did more of a gender statement. And moving forward, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts around the evolution of now the 2018 budget. You look at more of a GBA plus and legislation, and how the legislation that you're putting in place now with this budget, how will this affect future finance ministers' budgets and future governments? Your thoughts on that?
We obviously want to make sure that any improvements we put in place, any ability for us to be more successful in enabling women to have opportunities are sustained over the long term. So we started with a recognition that we needed to do analysis around every budget measure to make sure that it's actually having the desired impact, as you said, in 2017. This year we went farther and also identified the fact that we want to legislate or find a way to ensure that this continues for the long term. So this analysis that looks at the differential impacts on different subsets of the population continues. And what we're going to do next year is we're actually going to publish our analysis. So we're going to give people an understanding of the analysis we've gone through. Obviously, starting at the beginning, we're trying to make sure that we build our skill set to ensure that we're actually doing the proper analysis. And I think what you'll see in Budget 2019 is the fruits of the work we did in 2017 and 2018 and then in 2019 demonstrated for Canadians so they can see that we've considered how we can actually ensure that today and tomorrow we're having an important impact on what we see as a challenge, and that's ensuring that there's an equal and fair chance of opportunity for girls and women in the economy.
Mark, you have 6 seconds. Okay, so I'll pass on to Rachel Harder for 7 minutes.
Minister, earlier this month you spent some time with the Finance Committee, and during this time you conversed with my colleague Lisa Raitt. Now, she showed that she disagreed with part of the budget, and she asked you a question with regards to that. At that point, it was evident that her question offended you. You became visibly angry with her and then proceeded to call her a Neanderthal. Now, you might be interested to know that a recent poll by Forum Research showed that only 18% of Canadian women actually fully agree with your budget, which means the rest have questions. So, Minister, does that make the other 82% of Canadian women also Neanderthals?
Well, let me just say that we're of the view that we need to make sure that Canada is a successful country for all Canadians. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to succeed. So what we've tried to do from day one as a government is to make sure that that people from all regions, from male or female, from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities, have the opportunity for success. Our budget clearly identifies the fact that we see that there's a lag in opportunities for women, and we're going to continue to put forward measures that actually deal with that issue in a way that's constructive and that allows us to make progress. I think that most Canadians would recognize that trying to help to ensure that half the population is more successful.
Thank you for your time. I'm actually going to cut you off there because you're not actually addressing my question. There are women across this country who have significant concerns with this budget. They weren't as impressed with it as perhaps you would have thought they would have been. And so many women actually feel that it's really inappropriate for two middle-aged white guys with trust accounts to dictate to them what their choices in life should be. So in your budget, you outline that women aren't contributing as much to the economy as men are, and therefore they should step up and get full-time work instead of part-time work. And you even are so prescriptive to say they should be entering STEM fields and trades in order to help contribute to the economy by way of taxation in order to make up for the debt load that your government is incurring. Now, women don't like that you're telling them what to do. And so the response is this: only 16% of women are more likely to vote Liberal. Meanwhile, 38% are less likely to vote for your government in the next election. That's 38% that are less likely because they're offended with your budget. Now, does that mean that these women are also Neanderthals in the same way that Lisa Raitt is?
What I won't do is presume to look into the heads of any individual, male or female, in this country. What we're trying to do instead is to ensure that we have a system that allows women to have every opportunity that we believe they should have, like we want other Canadians to have. So in identifying the fact that women have less pay per hour of work, in identifying the fact that we have lower
Minister,
workforce participation among women.
Let me try again. Let's see if we can get it this time.
Finish my comment?
time is to
your government is out of control with its spending. You've incurred a huge debt load. It's resulting in $840 more expense for the average Canadian household right now, meaning families are taking home less money, which means that they're feeling crunched, which means that poverty levels increase. Now, here's what we know. We know that when poverty increases, it disproportionately impacts women. Now, here's what we know. We know that First Nations women living off reserves are 4 times as likely to be poor. We know that visible minority women and women with a disability are 3 times as likely to be poor. And we know that single mothers are 2 times as likely to be poor. So women across this country recognize the harm that is caused by your out-of-control spending and increased deficit, which is why 53% of women across this country, coast to coast, actually prefer a balanced budget rather than your out-of-control spending. So, Minister, my question again is this. Does that make these 53% of women who also disagree with your budget, including First Nations women, visible minority women, women who live with a disability, and single mothers, does it make them Neanderthals?
We will continue to work towards addressing what we see as challenges for all Canadians. In putting forward the measures we've put forward in Budget 2016, Budget 2017, Budget 2018, women's that address challenges facing women, helping families with increased child benefits in 2016, helping families with a national housing strategy and with a child care strategy in 2017, thinking about ways that we can deal with systemic challenges through Budget 2018 measures. We're going to try and get at the fact that there's not as much opportunity for women in our economy as that we'd like, and that we think is a really important goal that we need to achieve together.
Minister, I think you should be clear with Canadians that when you say not as much economic opportunity, what you're saying is we're not able to squeeze out of these women as much taxation as we would like, and so therefore we want them to enter into the workforce full time so that we can get more of those taxes so that we can pay for our out-of-control spending. Now, as leaders, we make mistakes from time to time, but what sets a good leader apart from a poor leader is that he is able to take responsibility for his actions. In your meeting with the Finance Committee, you took offense to a question that was asked by my colleague Lisa Raitt. You got angry with her, and you stated, and I quote, that you and your government will drag along the Neanderthals who don't agree with you, end quote. Minister, it is not only inappropriate for you to call Ms. Raitt a Neanderthal, but the image that you paint of grabbing someone and dragging them along actually perpetuates violence and discrimination against women and girls in this country. And it perpetuates the negative stereotype or negative attitude, which is very prevalent already, and that is that men are smarter than women and women deserve to be dominated by men. That is the image you paint, one of dragging my colleague along. Minister, my question is very simple, and that is this. Would you like to take responsibility for your actions today and apologize to my colleague, Lisa Raitt?
Well, maybe I can step back and say that I think that Canadians do have a sense that fairness matters. And I think as we look at some challenges, the fact that women earn for equal time, equal pay is not there for women. They're earning 88 cents on the dollar. That when you actually look at it in the terms of women...
I'm going to stop you. My question was really simple. It was simply an opportunity to allow you to be a really great leader and take responsibility for your actions. So I'm going to give you one more opportunity. There are women across this country who listened to your statement, and it was incredibly degrading towards women from coast to coast. It was one that perpetuated the repulsive attitude that women are less than men and should be forced into submission. Minister, would you like to apologize to my colleague Lisa Raitt and to all Canadian women for perpetuating this line of thought?
5 seconds.
You know, we're very pleased to continue to put forward measures that are going to help Canadian women.
I'm very sorry for cutting you off. I'm trying to remain as neutral as possible. I know I've had some people concerned that I'm not cutting off. I'm just going to remind everybody it is up to the will of the questioners. So it's their time. It is always the members' time, and so we will continue with that, okay? We're now off to Sheila Malcolmson for her 7 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister, for coming. Your fellow Liberal members voted down a year ago, and I wanted to invite you to committee, so I'm really glad that we agreed as a committee to get you here now. I want to thank you also for some of the early wins that we were able to get together. Women on banknotes was something that the grassroots movement and NDP had pushed for a long time, so thanks for saying yes to that so early in the term, and also saying yes to the NDP motion on pay equity and our first month or so in this Parliament. So, pay equity would have expected that a feminist budget would have had pay equity legislation and financing for pay equity. As you say, 1.2 million women are affected by the lack of federal pay equity legislation. The all-party committee, all three parties agreed, doesn't happen very often, that pay equity legislation should be tabled by June 2017. Pierre Trudeau promised it, Liberal Prime Minister, 42 years ago. So great disappointment that it's not in the budget. Are you the one, and the Labour Minister says the consultation is finished last year. We haven't heard anybody who says we need more time on this. Are you the one responsible for not funding pay equity in your feminist budget?
Well, I want to be really clear. We have committed to proactive pay equity legislation. It will be in Budget Implementation Act 2. We see this as a critically important step. We know that it's important for us to show leadership in this regard. We know that it's unacceptable that people in any part of our society, but certainly in the areas of federal responsibility, that people aren't paid equally for work of equal value. So that is what we identified in our budget, and that is what we will be delivering this year, as we said.
Can women count on you to fund pay equity in this fall's economic update?
You can count on the fact that we're moving forward on this, and obviously moving forward on this means we need to take responsibility for ensuring that it's properly funded.
But not necessarily in the fall economic update?
I'm committing to you that we already put it into budget 2018 as a commitment, and that commitment was intended for this budget period, including Budget Implementation Act number 1 and Budget Implementation Act number 2.
There was no money for it whatsoever. The Labour movement advocated that at a bare minimum, although they wanted to see legislation and funding for pay equity years ago. They advocated at a minimum that you put the framework in place, that you fund the establishment of a pay equity commissioner. That wouldn't have been, given your government's willingness to spend all kinds of money, that would have been a very important gesture. Why did you choose not to take Labour's advice?
To be clear, this is something coming this year. This is not something that we're delaying on, and we will not be coming forward on anything without ensuring that proper funding is there.
Well, I would argue if this was really a feminist budget, you would have funded pay equity. If I was the Prime Minister, I would have implemented it in year 1. I would have had the economic benefits accrue from having women paid equally, and I would have been campaigning on it in 2019. So I'm just amazed you haven't taken my good advice already on this. Childcare, another big missing piece. Lots of NGOs saying you can't call this a gender budget, you can't call this a feminist budget without funding universal affordable childcare. And I know you're getting the same advice from beyond the grassroots. Conference Board of Canada, the Bank of Canada Governor, International Monetary Fund, OECD, they're all urging Canada to fund as the next big new social program, universal affordable childcare. So I want to know why you're not taking their advice.
We recognize that there will always be more to do in terms of ensuring that we're successful in helping all Canadians to have the opportunities that they deserve. We look at our term in office as something that started in 2015, and we started with measures that we know had an important impact on families and on women, with the introduction of the Canada Child Benefit in the approach we took.
With respect, Minister, though, without the creation of new childcare spaces, licensed affordable daycare, the Canada Child Benefit doesn't give women the spending power, doesn't give them a new place to spend.
And that's why I was going to move from there, that program that, of course, gave on average $2,300 for 9 out of 10 families, and significantly more for single women. We then, in Budget 2017, put in $7.5 billion over 11 years to create additional spaces, to make spaces more affordable across the country for daycare. And of course, this year we're taking significant other measures that are going to have, we think, a long-term and important impact on women's success. So we We don't argue that all of our work is done. We do think that we've made very important strides in each year that we've moved forward, and what I can tell you is that we're going to continue to focus on how we can ensure success for women across our country in whatever way they choose to find their personal success.
I mean, you've seen the same headlines that I have. Without pay equity, without having your feminist budget funding pay equity and universal childcare, you really can't call it a gender budget. It's words, but not action, not implementation. So here we've got quotes from Action Canada for Sexual Health and Rights, Canada, or Childcare Now, Morna Ballantyne particularly, both of them saying a gender equality budget without childcare is not a gender equal budget. Morna Ballantyne says, without universal childcare, women's equality will never become a reality in Canada. The Childcare Resource Centre and Research Unit, Canadian Research Institute for Advancement of Women, Kathleen Leahy, Queen's Prof, Armin Yalzinan from CCPA, all of them saying, we're astonished that for a government that's willing to spend, that says that it's a feminist government, that says that it's going to invest in social infrastructure, that here we are, it looks like the government's ragging the puck on feminism by spending so late in the term that you're not going to be able to realize any of the advantages for women. And women are far behind, as you said in your introduction and as you acknowledged in your speech. So can you help me understand the misalignment here between words and action?
10 seconds.
What I can say is, I appreciate your continued advocacy, which I think is really important. We've made really important steps from day one. We will continue to do so, and
Thank you.
We're going to ensure that we have a
Thank you,
greater
Minister
level of
Murno.
success.
Thank you very much, Minister Murno. We're now going to move over for our next 7 minutes and to Emanuela Lambropoulos.
Thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for our very feminist budget. Selon moi, je pense que c'était un budget très.
In my opinion, this is a very feminist budget, and I'd like to thank you once again for having introduced it.
Sharing my time with one of my colleagues. So we've touched on unpaid work, and we know that this is definitely one of the big contributors to the gender wage gap. However, another thing that contributes greatly to this gap is the fact that women and men do different types of work, and sometimes women don't have the same access to the same jobs, and not necessarily because opportunity is lacking, but because of the cultures in these different work environments. So I'd like to know what our government's doing to make higher paying jobs more accessible to women in order to help shrink the gender wage gap.
Well, thank you. That's a broad question that I think we could go down many paths of what we've put in this budget as examples of how we're trying to enable women to find more success in fields that perhaps they weren't as traditionally successful in. So we've put in funding for pre-apprenticeship training. We've put in funding for apprenticeship training, both with the idea that we can help women to be more successful in red seal trades. We recognize, as I mentioned in my remarks, that women are not as represented in some of the STEM fields as they could be. We started first principles with that. So in our research and science funding, we put in significant funding in the granting councils. And in that funding, we put in a stipulation that those granting councils consider how they can ensure that we not only have more younger researchers, more interdisciplinary work, but in particular more female researchers, because we saw that the access to those funds was not having the same impact on women as in men. We then, as I mentioned, are thinking about how we can also ensure more success among women who start businesses. We see women businesses getting started at a similar pace, but not getting nearly the opportunities for success as male-led businesses. So obviously, we're going to have to do many things at the same time to address these challenges, and these are some of the methods that we put in this budget that we think will have an important impact over time.
Thank you very much, and I think that a lot of my constituents are quite happy with these initiatives, so I'd like to relay that message. Et une autre question que je vais vous demander, selon le budget 2018.
Another question. According to Budget 2018, Status of Women Canada will finally become an official and full-fledged department of the Government of Canada. And I'd like to know whether you can go into a bit more detail about what measures our government is going to adopt in order to reinforce the role of this department. And what will that mean for women and girls and for organizations who work for women's rights? Thank you. We know that it is very important to consider today and also in future how we can effect major change and improvement of the situation of women and girls. We think that with this goal, we need a system that works, and that is why we decided to put in place a department, Status of Women, that will be there for the long term. That's very important. And at the same time, it gives us more expertise, more opportunities to conduct analyses, to work with women's rights organizations across the country, and in order to further further opportunities for women. So that is really a decision that we have made for the long term to ensure that our measures will have the major impact that we are seeking. And we also want to be able to make things easier to implement our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Merci, Monsieur le Ministre, d'avoir accepté la...
Thank you, Minister, for having accepted our invitation to appear at our committee and to thank our questions. And thank you for everything that you are doing for women and girls in Canada. In 2018 budget, we saw that there would be $86 million over 5 years as of 2018-2019, and another $20 million per year to broaden the strategy against the strategy for violence against women. Can you please explain to us what the difference is between this strategy and the strategy in Budget 2017, and how will this strategy help more women and girls in Canada? Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. We know that there are still major challenges facing Canadian women. There are many things there are many problems that they have to cope with because of violence against women, and that is why we have decided to put in place a number of methods to improve this situation. We added $50 million to fight sexual harassment in the workplace, and that's very important. We also invested $25 million in a program designed to help the most vulnerable workers. And we also have put in place other measures to consider specific problems. For example, $10 million in funding for a facility that will consider the 25,000 unfounded situations that have been prevailing since 2015. So we have a number of measures, but we know that there are many more things to be done. Thank you. We also saw in Budget 2018 that there's $1.5 billion for businesswomen. I don't have a lot of time, neither do you, so could you please briefly explain how that will help more businesswomen to succeed? Well, access to funding is a major challenge for businesswomen, and so we decided that we need a special measure just for women, and that is how we're going to make this situation better and ensure that businesswomen can have more access to capital.
Now I'm going to move on to Stephanie Kusi for 5 minutes.
Madame Présidente, merci, Monsieur Ministre.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister, for being here this afternoon with us. I have 2 questions for you. The first is concerning your gender-responsible budgeting. There was an article in Toronto Star from March, and it talked about the poor results of this initiative. And the first was in Australia. In Australia, there were 7 times of budget up until 2014, and all of a sudden they decided to put that type of budget aside because they were not unable to get the specific results, the positive results that they were hoping for women. The second of these initiatives was in Austria. There, they changed the constitution to review gender responsive budgeting, and they also decided to no longer do GBA plus, so the way Canada is doing now. But unfortunately, the parliamentary budget officer found that there were not conclusive results for women in that regard, showing that women's lives had improved because of gender responsive budgeting. There were not the right objectives. There was miscommunication between departments. And lastly, another example from the OECD, which showed that there were 12 countries, unfortunately, with the same results, which showed that those countries were unable to find specific results where gender-based analysis, GBA plus that is, and gender-responsive budgeting were able to achieve the right results, positive results for women with regard to policy. So I have a simple question. With these results from Europe, why do you think that it is a good idea to put in place gender-responsive budgeting and expect better results?
Merci pour votre question.
Thank you for your question.
With a number of the finance ministers from a number of the countries that you referred to, as well as finance ministers from other countries to understand their experience. I've also been able to share with them what we've been doing in Canada in order to think about ways forward that could have the biggest potential positive impact. I think in any approach, you always have to think about how to best implement. And there are certainly countries in the world who've had a great deal of success with gender-based analysis. I had extensive discussions with the Swedish finance minister, for example, and she gave me a huge amount of understanding of how they've done it. Similarly, I had long discussions with the Spanish finance minister who explained how they'd done it in Spain. What I can tell you is that there are examples of very positive outcomes. And importantly, in Canada, we're going to measure the results with each and every measure that we put forward. Results like with the Canada Child Benefit, more than 300,000 children being lifted out of poverty.
I have a second question regarding foreign direct investment. Unfortunately, in Calgary, we've lost a number of countries because of the negative results, and there are a number of problems with the policy, with our foreign affairs policy. For example, with NAFTA, up until now, Canada hasn't been able to reach a good agreement. With C69, we will not be able to put in place positive energy projects, and look at Trans Mountain as well. Don't you think women deserve good jobs and good positions? Why are you not doing more than to keep foreign direct investment here in Canada?
10 seconds.
Au contraire, nous pensons que c'est très important pour avoir.
On the contrary, it is very important to have foreign investment in Canada. That will help men, women, and all Canadians. That is very important. We now have an economy that is.
I'll have to cut you off. We're now moving on, and we'll be having Alana Lockhart for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for joining us today. Minister, as you know, I'm a former small business owner, and I was actually very happy with this budget, not only because of the decrease in the small business tax rate, but also the women's entrepreneurship strategy, which I know my colleagues have brought up before. But I want to tell you exactly why I was excited to see it there, because it not only meant that my challenges as a woman in business were real and possibly systematic, but that the government had listened to that and made a significant investment to try to support women in business. You've discussed the pillars of the strategy and the fact that there'll be more assistance to encourage women entrepreneurs to enter into procurement and export. Could you tell us what you feel the potential is to having more women-owned businesses participating in those two areas?
We obviously have looked at some studies that have shown us the potential. The math I referred to in my remarks, the idea that we can actually grow our overall GDP through greater and more successful outcomes for women. We obviously see that as one important reason for ensuring that we have measures that can help people to be successful. Specifically in the field of helping women to be more successful in businesses, we start with the idea that we need to think about why it is that there's not as much opportunity for women. That's why we started with the idea of accelerators and mentor hubs delivered regionally. We think that's critically important. Secondly, we saw that there was not nearly as much success for women exporters, export businesses, as there were for male businesses. So that led us to putting funding through the Export Development Bank of Canada. It's about $250 million in access to capital for export-led businesses, as well as services and facilities to help them to consider how they can best use those resources. With the Business Development Bank, similarly, it's the same approach, although more funds available, which allow for access to capital. But the BDC also has a facility to help people to think about how to develop their business plans and actually put that capital to work. Outcomes, as I said, we've got high-level studies, but more interim measures of potential positive outcomes would be actually more capital getting to women businesses, seeing growth rates that are more rapid for the businesses once they're started, and of course over the long term, seeing that will actually have a broader economic impact for all Canadians.
Great, thank you. I mean, one of the statistics that I've learned, and I'm sure you know this as well, that more than half of small businesses are owned by women, but only 16% of total businesses are owned by women. So clearly there are barriers between, growing a business from small business into medium and large. And I would suggest that those are a couple of the reasons why, just the businesses that women have traditionally chosen to be involved in. You mentioned too the significance of training and mentorship. Do you feel that plays a large part in growing businesses? And the hubs, what significance will they play in this?
Well, to start with the question part, whether that plays a significant role, I think the research would suggest it does. And we step back even further and think about what are the ways that we create incentives for girls to see role models in the places where they can aspire to be in future. That's why, as we think about funding for science and research, we specifically allocated or we gave direction that we expect to see more outcomes for younger and more female researchers so that they'll be role models. And of course, many businesses will be founded by people who go into those sorts of fields. We're thinking as well about how we enable people at a very early age to see opportunities to go into those fields. That's why we put money in both in last year's budget and similar ideas in this year's around coding for young girls. So we're trying to think from an early stage how you create those opportunity sets, and then the idea of thinking about accelerators and business hubs is about once people actually decide where they're going to go, they need to find ways of getting the networks required for them to successfully get into those business sectors. So it's a multifaceted approach that we think is required, and it will be something we'll need to stick with.
Alana, you have about 8 seconds.
No, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Now we're going to move over to Rachel Harder for her next 5 minutes.
will share with my colleague, Ms. Rumpel.
Madam Chair, I do need to leave as close to 5 o'clock as possible. I have something else that starts at 5 o'clock.
I'm sure you want to stick around for me, Minister.
Okay.
Great. What is the relative cost burden of your carbon tax for women as compared to men?
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
What is the relative cost burden of your carbon tax for women as compared to men?
As you likely know, we believe that for our economy to be successful over the long term, we need to make sure that we're considering also the environmental challenges.
Since you've got to leave, I'll just ask, has a gender-based analysis been completed for the carbon tax?
Again, where I was getting to is that we believe a carbon pricing approach is important, and we've also said that we need to find a way to move that revenue back to the provinces.
So has a gender-based analysis been completed for the carbon tax?
As a revenue-neutral measure, you'll understand that we see this as something that's important for the long-term health of our environment and our economy.
Has a gender-based analysis been completed for the carbon tax?
And as I mentioned, this is a revenue-neutral measure that we see will help our environment over the long term and enable our economy to be successful.
You know, you've talked about the wage gap and these different things. Did you do any modeling? Is the price elasticity of the consumption of carbon the same for women as it is for men in Canada?
As I've said, we believe that carbon pricing is important. We also believe that this
also say on page 219 of the budget
approach
you've also said on page
one that allows us to do it properly.
So you've also said on page 219 of the budget that you're putting in place a gender results framework, which is a whole of government tool. So has that tool not been applied to the carbon tax?
And again, I'll repeat, in putting in place carbon pricing, we know it'll have a long-term positive impact on the environment.
So it has been done.
For everyone. And it will have an impact, of course, that from the federal government standpoint is revenue neutral.
Could you table the gender-based analysis for the carbon tax with this committee?
I'll just repeat again.
So it hasn't been done?
I will repeat again that carbon pricing from the federal government standpoint is a revenue neutral measure that will, over the long term, encourage behaviors that will help the environment for all Canadians.
You can table the gender-based analysis for the carbon tax with this committee?
What I will tell you is that the approach that we've taken is one that will enable all Canadians to be...
I'll take that as a code for no, and I'll take that as code for it hasn't been done. So my question is, if there's a whole of government approach to gender-based analysis, and you're imposing a brand new tax on all Canadians, and we know that there's a pay equity gap for women, and many women bear a disproportionate cost of childcare, why would you not do a gender-based analysis for the carbon tax?
As I've said, we recognize that the way to get to behaviors that are going to ensure that we properly consider environmental impact over time.
Would you say that the carbon tax is sexist? Well, would you? I mean, has there been a gender-based analysis? I'm just wondering.
As I've mentioned, we put in place the carbon pricing approach in order to deal with the long-term environmental impacts of carbon. So if you've done no gender-based analysis for it, and we know that women bear the disproportionate cost of childcare and things like driving kids around and paying for transport and food, I would beg to argue that the carbon tax is sexist. Do you have any evidence to prove otherwise with your gender budget? As I've said, the federal carbon pricing is one that's revenue neutral from the federal government.
So how can it be revenue neutral for women if you haven't done a gender budget for it?
I can just tell you that we've put in place a measure that will allow us to return those revenues to the province.
So you are saying you're actively pursuing a sexist carbon tax?
Well, no, I'm not.
So then why haven't you done a gender-based analysis for it?
I can just repeat what I've said, and that is, of course, that we've put in place carbon pricing that will enable us to have a long-term positive environmental impact.
I know there's a lot of moms that are filling up their cars right now at like $1.70 a tank, and they're going, this doesn't seem like it's gender-based. So will you commit to doing a gender-based analysis of the carbon tax?
10 seconds, Minister.
We will commit to continuing with an approach that will allow us to price what we don't want, which
code
is
for
pollution.
no.
and that will help us with the environment in the long term.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Minister, I recognize that you said you have to leave at 5. Mrs. Ludwig, are you willing to give up your 5 minutes? That's just because of that. The reason I ask is the meeting would go to 5:05 since we started at 4:05. Are you willing to give up your 5 minutes so that we can adjourn?
I understand that the minister has a commitment at 5.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody's got their fair time, so everybody's good with that. I would like to thank you very much, Minister Morneau, for coming today and answering our hard questions from all sides. We do appreciate your time here, and as you said, it is historical. It's the first time we have had the Finance Minister here, so thank you very much for coming here and sharing your time with us. Just a couple of reminders. First of all, the Minister of Status of Women will be appearing at committee on May the 24th. She'll be here for 2 hours. She'll be here for 1 hour. 1 hour with her. The second hour will be with the department officials. Also, starting tomorrow, we'll get back to the study and reporting stage in camera on the Indigenous study. Thank you very much for all your patience today. We adjourn today's meeting.